So one of the things that people grapple with from time to time, we used to say that we have goals, and we have plans, or we have a mission, and now the word intention has come up in the language, and it's almost a brand new word in terms of the way that people are using it, and it's new in the last 8 years. But are you saying that it doesn't make any sense to make plans or goals, it's just simply to accept it as it comes?
Well, there is a place for making plans and goals, right? If you have no direction, then it's hard to accumulate, progress. It's not just bounce around, whatever happens. You can have some planning, but don't make the plan or the goal the reason for your existing. In other words, the goal can become such that you get obsessed with the goal. I have to make it to this goal. This goal is important. I need to be there. I need to do this. And if you focus on the goal, you will have a very hard time getting there as far as personal growth goes. Where the learning is not in setting the goal, but in the process. The learning takes place in the process of attaining that goal. So focus on the process. The things we just talked about, it's part of the process. Yeah. You can have a goal. Let a goal be general. It's kind of out that direction someplace. When I grow up, I want to be, and you can do that. And if what you want to be is a doctor, then fine. You should probably go into medicine, not something else. So goals are fine. But if you focus too much on that goal to where the process is just beside the point, you're just getting to the goal, then you're at the point that the ends justify the means, and anything you can do to get there to that goal, is fair game, and you miss all the opportunities in between. The learning is in the process, not in the goal. So you don't get a plus up, you don't get new spells in this game, more hit points by making it to the goal. You get hit points by the way you act, by the way you behave, by the way you intend, all the way on the way to the goal. That's what's really important.
This is going to really sound weird, but are you also sort of saying that some of these computer games can teach us stuff?
Yeah, well, we've been over that this is a virtual reality, and a virtual reality is just a virtual reality. They all work about the same. We're not a whole lot different than the characters in World of Warcraft or Sims. The primary difference is that their reality was programmed. Somebody had to sit down and write code for the grass, for the trees, for the squirrel in the tree, for all the, for the characters. In our virtual reality, it's not programmed. It evolved. The set and the rule set just evolved. The big digital bang, right? So it all evolved, and that produces the rule set and the things that we can and can't do. We're constrained within what evolved. Okay, so it wasn't programmed. Our set, that's why our set is so detailed. We have such detail because it all just evolved. It all grew up the way it is. The reason we're here is that there were monkeys that learned to stand upright and the hair fell off, and they begin to use tools and so on. So you just take it all the way back to the few cells in the primordial ooze, and before that to the vegetate, well, I guess not before that, but before that I guess it was just minerals and whatever. You take this whole thing, and it evolved according to a rule set, and that's our stage, that's our setting in this game. It's an evolved setting, not a program setting. But other than that, it's about the same sort of thing. Of course, they're getting hit points, so it makes them stronger, or they're getting new spells, and what we do is we get to grow up. We get to lower our entropy and become love. We're in the love game. We're not doing very well in it, but we're in the love game.
But I think that more and more we're doing better at it. It seems to me, I know that sometimes whenever we look at what's going on in the world today, and we see all the anger and the fear that comes up, that people are constantly pitted against one another for one thing or another, then there also is a point where enough of us are really practicing the point of love and going and caring and nurturing and compassion and empathy and understanding to the point that I think that is coming up to meet.
Yeah, we are. We're growing.
Yeah.
You know, even if you look back at our trajectory over, 1,000 years or 2,000 years, I think you can see progress. Yes, we're still at war now, and it's, we were at war 2,000 years ago, we as a people, right?
Right.
Fighting with each other,
Mm-hmm.
of course. But there's a lot of things that are a lot better. Even just go back to the 1940s or 1950s. Remember who was it? Gore Vidal wrote a thing called Generation of Sheep, conformity. And we were around in that time. Conformity, was oppressive. If you were a male in business, you must wear a white shirt. You must wear a gray flannel hat. You must do this and that. Just wearing a shirt with a little blue stripe in it would have been enough to send you home.
Right.
You must have your hair cut just like this. Women, you couldn't wear pants.
Right.
And it goes on and on. So look how much freedom, look how much openness we've gained from that kind of conformity. And that's just been a little over 50 years. You see, so yes, things have changed and opened up, and we see progress being made. Go back to the Dark Ages. That was a tough time to live, wasn't it? We're much better now. We have much more respect for each other in general than we did then. Now, some of this is just cultural things that we learn through our intellect. This is how to be. Don't be rude. Be polite. And it doesn't necessarily mean we aren't rude or impolite inside. But still, that's civilizing, and it gives us a little more room to grow in when we have a little more polite place. So I think we're making progress, and I think over the last decade or so, the progress has started to accelerate. I saw progress accelerating back in the 60s, like we mentioned. I think there are times when it does that, and then there are times when
It takes a leap.
it takes a leap. But and I don't know that we always back up all the way. It's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Well, that's not as good as always stepping forward, but it does eventually get you to where you're going, and I think we're sort of like that. So hopefully now we're in the process of 2 steps forward. Whether we'll take a step back or not, I don't know. There's no free lunch in the sense that you don't get a higher quality consciousness just because you happen to live at the year 2012. Nothing's magically going to suddenly raise you up and give you, love in your heart when there was this blackness there before. It's not going to go. You have to change. The change has to be inside of you. So people really have to change into somebody else that has more love and less fear. It's not just that, the bell just chimed 12 o'clock, and now it's 2012, we're all going to get a boost for free. You have to earn it. You earn it by being it. It's not just going to be bestowed upon you because you happen to be here at the right time. It doesn't work like that. But can we all learn it more quickly? Yes. And the more of us that learn it, the easier it is for more of us than to learn it. It is a cumulative kind of in the double E terms, this would be a positive feedback. The more you get, the easier it is to get more. So yes, I feel very hopeful. We are in a time of surging. These ideas are becoming more interesting to more people. And part of that's because in the decade before, it was awful. We had so much fear and so much negativity and so much bullying that people get tired of that. It's like, I don't want to live this way. There must be something better. So now there's lots of people kind of looking for that something better out there because they've been through some stuff that really wasn't a lot of fun and wasn't very nice. So part is we're on this rebound from more negative times, and we're bounding up. Same with the 60s, was a rebound out of the 40s and 50s where everything was conformist and everybody was stuck in pigeonholes that all had to look just like, we all had to look just like each other and act just like each other and all had the same thoughts. And if you were a little bit different, that was awful. The worst thing you could possibly be was different. It's not like that now. Now people go out of their way to be different. They just want to be different. You're going to see people walking around with orange hair, right? Why is that? They just want to be different. And that's good, that people are willing to do that. Of course, teenagers always want to be different, right? They want to be different than what they find in their parents, but that's good too. They need to do that. That's all very positive.
For a long time in your life, all of your life and all of mine, we have lived with this idea that there could be a nuclear war. Mm-hmm. And you've been involved in the the space industry and the rest of it. Is this still a threat, or has consciousness affected that?
Well, what we actually have in this reality, this physical reality, is more a product of consciousness than it is the other way around. It's not that the things we do affects the consciousness as much as our consciousness affects the things we do. Yes, we grew up with this nuclear war fear over us. I remember when I was in college, I was a physics student, just a freshman, I think, freshman or sophomore at the time that the Cuban crisis, where they're going to put missiles into Cuba, and we said no, and the blockade, and they were coming anyway, and whatever. And I had a physics professor who had been part of the Manhattan Project, and evidently was carrying around some guilt for the fact that he was part instrumental in the creating nuclear bombs. And he basically stood up in class at that time and told all of us in class that he didn't expect that any of us were going to survive more than a few days, and we might as well just leave and go have fun or go home or something else. He just kind of dismissed us because he didn't think any of us were going to live for the next week, through the week. So, yes, we lived, close to the nuclear threat. And now, not so much, right? Things have changed. Not so much. Well, there's still, you could have nuclear exchanges. It's not like that's gone. It's just toned down. It's less probable than it was. But the idea that somebody will get hold of a, or maybe two, nuclear weapons and detonate them somewhere, that's probably more probable than it was. Because at the height of the Cold War, we were very strict and had great control of all of our nuclear stuff. And now that it's kind of been over, you relax some and it's not quite as big a deal. And that means it's easier for somebody else, terrorists we could say, to get hold of a nuclear weapon or buy one or, whatever, than it was before. So the threat of a small nuclear thing happening, small, I mean not exchanging thousands of warheads, but one or two weapons going off, is probably higher than it was before. So that changes, but it kind of reflects us. We've changed. We talk about Earth changes. When I first became aware of probable Earth changes, not that it has anything to do with 2012, but this was back in the middle 70s. My first association with that, I looked at a map one day, and that map became animated. It just came alive, and things started to move, and I saw where earthquakes were quaking and waves were going, and it was a big map of the United States, and it was really big. It was on a wall. It was where I worked, and we had this big thing. It was probably 10 feet wide by 8 feet tall, and I just looked at that map for a few minutes, and things were moving. And the idea I got that was all going to happen like in 1984. Well, it didn't happen in 1984 because things changed. And as it was just probable. See, the future is just probable. It's not a done deal. So that was a probability that might have happened. And the probability at that time was about 1984, but it didn't happen because we chose a different route. We, collective consciousness, we chose a different route. We grew up some. And we still have those same ideas. People are still seeing these things happening. But it doesn't mean that they're going to happen. None of this is fixed. We can always choose a different route where we're growing, where things are working. That's not the only solution. That's only a possibility. We get to choose the kind of reality we have. Now, like I said earlier, you got 3 million people running around scared to death of 2012. All horrible things will happen. That's feeding energy to horrible things happening. That's moving that probability of horrible things happening, making it bigger and bigger. But on the other hand, there's people that, like you talk about your friends, people who are full of love and caring and peace, and they help each other out. That helps move us away from that. That takes that probability and moves it further away. Okay, so there's lots of uncertainty in the physics of tectonic plates. When enough pressure just builds and when something cracks, there's all sorts of uncertainty. And because of that, our consciousness, individually and collectively, has a lot to do with what we experience here. So it's always like that. So the growth, as far as love increasing and fear and ego decreasing, we can create that. We can create disaster. We can create, more fear. We have the ability to create our reality, but it has to be a reflection of us, whatever it is. And it's not just we, us three sitting here, but it has to be we, the people, the humanity. It's the earth responds to us as we respond to it. We're all part of this larger system, and it's all interconnected. And as we are full of turmoil, that helps create a more tumultuous reality frame. As we are full of peace and caring, that helps create a peaceful, caring reality frame.
So I hear what you say, but explain how that relates to the possibility that there is a dramatic climate change taking place on the planet.
Well, that dramatic climate change is a result of us, right? That's pretty much is that what you're talking about? Like a global warming, a man-made thing?
I'm asking that. Is the system itself, the big system, warming up, as some people say, all over the solar system? Or is it just Earth? And if it's just Earth, is it because of what we've done, or is there something we can do to tone it down?
Yeah, well, there's obviously things we can do to help, like we've been saying. But the way the reality works is that some of it is planned.
In the system?
Some of it is planned in the system. Okay, any reality, say even your own personal reality, some of it is planned, like perhaps the two of you getting together, you see. Some of it's kind of nudged, planned to be. Other parts of it is just random, just the way it happens to fall out. And other parts of it is just according to the rule set. We've got a rule set. And the rule set of our atmosphere, of our planet, the sun flares, all the rest of it, this stuff just happens according to the rule set. And that will continue. You have these two big tectonic plates, and they're smushing into each other. And where they do, stresses build up. When stresses build up, eventually they'll pop, period. That's just the rule set. It's not like we're all going to sit down and hum and sing Kumbaya, and all the plates will sag back and float without interacting with each other. That's the physics of what's going on. We have momentum, and we have things going on there, and that will grind on regardless. But we can affect it. We can nudge it. We can influence it. We're not going to control it. Okay, it's not that we can control everything. Now we're getting back into control freaks again, that we need to control everything. We don't. We need to live with what happens. But we can nudge it. We can influence it with our intent. So things like, is the weather getting warmer, say because of us? Well, okay, we put stuff in that does the greenhouse effect and puts more gases here. And yes, we can help by stop putting those fluorides or whatever. What are they? I don't remember the chemical, but stop putting that stuff up there that does that. Yeah, fluorocarbons, hydrofluorocarbons, something like that. So yes, we can help. In other words, we have to be responsible stewards of our planet. Yes, we can screw things up on the planet. We can pollute the seas. We can cut down enough trees and kill enough plankton that we don't even have enough oxygen to breathe. We can choke ourselves to death just because of our greed. But that's what we create that because that's a reflection of us. On the other hand, we can influence that. But then there's other things going on that are just physics. It's just the way it is. It could be that we're in a warming period. If you look at the long trends in temperature, of course we're guessing because we're getting it from ice drills and other things. We don't know exactly what the temperature was, but we're guessing. And we see that it goes up and it goes down and it goes up, and it's been hotter here before. It's been colder here before. So there's other things going on, but we can nudge that. It's not that we can use our mind to be in control. We can use our mind to nudge it up, nudge it down within the uncertainty that's within the physics. We can make a difference. So you only are going to nudge things to within the uncertainty that's in the system.